at all. I think Americans.
Although I'm actually not sure we hear that bit.
You don't hear that bit?
Do we hear the countdown? No, we hear the
No.
intro. We don't hear. No, of course we hear the intro. I think we're live. We're live. Let us know if you can hear us. Hello and welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory. I'm Johnny Blaine. Joining me on this probably quite interesting, probably miserable Monday morning is Adam Nathan. Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm sort of I can feel that you're waiting for someone to say they can definitely hear us.
Yeah.
And that is slightly distracting
Yeah,
you.
no, George has said good morning, so we're in. And also joining me today is Jake Sanders. Hello.
How you doing?
All right. How are you?
Good.
Good.
We've not had confirmation yet that we can be heard.
I think we can be heard.
Someone needs to, Fabrizio Romano, here we go and confirmed, can hear
We can
you.
be heard. All right. Okay. Should we start with some good news?
There isn't any.
Well, it's the women won.
Okay, fine.
2-1. They
That's
beat
good
Liverpool
news.
2-1 in a game that was supposed to kick off at 12 o'clock and didn't finish till 2:30 because they kicked off late because there was no ambulance in the ground and they needed that ambulance when the Liverpool player had a serious injury towards the end. So they won 2-1. They've got 15 points or it's 17 points?
15 out of
15 points,
7
and they only
going.
got 20 in total last season. They were already only 5 points behind
amazing.
what they had last year. Yeah, they're doing really well. The 18s, the 21s didn't play, and you could argue that the seniors didn't play. So really, this is the first week of the season where everyone's lost their shit.
Yeah.
Like we've been waiting. This is the 16th game under Frank. We've been sort of, people keep saying to me, how's the pod going? And I'm like, yeah, we're just sort of winning one week, losing another, and we're just sort of floating. We've not had any real, underhands every week. There was something. You had the Aussies arguing with us on here and all that sort of stuff. We've had nothing to really get our teeth into under Frank, have we? Until Saturday. Were you there? You both there?
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah. All right, we'll start with the lineup because I always like to, but actually I think it's an interesting talking point, although we had to change it pretty swiftly. We're going to go straight in with it, which was Vicario in goal, Porro, Dance, Ven and Spence, João Palhinha, Bentancur, Kudus, Sarr, Bergvall and Koulibaly. When I was driving in and I saw the team, I was like, oh, it set a tone for me. I'm going to talk about Xavi Simons earlier on. We'll talk about him again later. I know he's not doing really well. For me, he's our only sort of... We've been crying out for a number 10. And we bought him as this number 10 who can sort of play left wing. And I know he's not playing well and he might be weak. And we saw all these faults come live on Saturday, really poor at times. But when you're not playing him, it sets a tone for me for how you're setting up. And I was happy with Koulibaly playing, Palhinha and Bentancur. All right, I probably need those two in a Chelsea home game so you can cut some slack on that. You said in our WhatsApp group, sorry, you might be saying it anyway now, but you can't pick that team and lose. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It was, if that team had been picked at home to Wolves, then I would say that is a worrying thought that's what obviously he thinks he needs to do to beat Wolves.
Yeah.
I wasn't completely adverse to the idea that that was the best team to beat Chelsea on the day. It's not the team I would normally pick, but I think if you do pick that team, it has to work, or every trope that has been said about you of the negativity, trying to be too combative, not caring enough about creativity, will come home to roost. Now, it was slightly skewed by the fact that then you change Bergwall for Simons, who are not similar players at all. And I wonder if there was a slightly more like-for-like thing he could have done, because he's basically picked the team saying, we're not going to try and be that creative. We're going to try and win it with legs, physicality. And then 4 minutes in, has basically thrown that plan out the window. And you're then kind of left with a sort of a halfway house, because you've still got Sarr, Bentancur and Palhinha on the pitch who are not creative.
Yep.
And then you're only asking sort of 2 or 3 players to try and pick everything up for you. So unlucky with the Bergwall injury, but yeah, I think it was a team that he almost didn't stick to his own plan 4 minutes in. He just threw it straight away.
We don't know what would have happened if Bergwall had played 80 plus minutes, but were we really going to see this sort of attacking creative football with Bergwall starting?
I don't think that was the plan. I think it would have just beat them with legs.
Yeah.
And, get it long, win it high up, win set pieces, which again, in a one-off thing, I don't hate, because there's so much to talk about, but my whole thing about Frank that I'm worried about is lack of control. And I think you can control games being defensively. And there's a way that I could see that lineup controlling a game even without the ball and, having the physicality and outrunning them. But it just turned into like 90 minutes of complete nothingness.
Yeah. Jake?
Yeah, I agree. I was in the pub. The first thing I saw, I had a few beers, I was feeling good, confident, which was probably the beers talking. The first thing I saw was, where's Romero? Why is Romero not playing?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't consider Udogie. I knew Udogie wouldn't play. I thought Udogie might start tomorrow, maybe United. Udogie's never really the kind of person that comes back then goes back in.
Yeah.
But we always say this, us three, if you're fit enough for the bench, you should be starting.
Certainly your captain.
Not too against it based on his history. The last thing any of us want is to risk a game in November and then he's out till Christmas and then we're holding on for dear life.
And it'll be longer than Christmas, let's be honest.
Exactly.
It could be February.
I know he'd been injured, but do you think he was on the bench because Kevin Dance had been playing well and, Frank's policy as well, you've been playing well, you can have another game, mate? Or is it he just wasn't quite fit enough? But as you said, and we've said before, if you're fit enough for the bench...
He was our best player when he came on as well. Yeah. So, I don't know. It looked like his sort of attitude when he came on was, why didn't you start me? I'm ready. I don't know. I'm not. We're all big Danso fans. We were bigging him up last week when he was brilliant at Everton. But, it's Kevin Danso and he's our captain. Seriously, however good Danso's been playing, if it was Liverpool and it was Joe Gomez playing and Van Dijk came back, you're not going to go, we'll give you a few games. Yeah. You start him if he's fit.
Yeah.
But it just killed my vibe when I saw that lineup. I don't think... we had it against Monaco when it was grey and it was the same thing again. No one really knew. Was it a diamond? Was it Bergwall left midfield? Was that what it was against Newcastle? I was at Newcastle, but what was it?
He was so far
he was
high
off
up,
the left, wasn't he?
Who?
Bergwall.
Off the left, yeah.
In the same way as Simons was off the left against Everton. And actually sorry, we're sort of jumping around, but I thought against Everton and Newcastle, he'd found something with a right winger that holds their width in Johnson, who basically was sacrificed and just told, just stand there, mate, and keep the left back occupied. And then 2 guys sort of inside that were almost creating like 2 number 10s, which was Kudus and Simons, and then Simons and Bergwall. And it was probably the best we've played in terms of just general open play.
Yeah.
He just sort of threw it straight out.
He's been in 16 games and he has got injuries, but he hasn't had too many. Has he had too many first team injuries within the players that have been available since the start of the season? I know he lost Romero and Udogie last week, but really the players that have been out have stayed out, and he's sort of had the players available for most of the season. Should he know I know you'll tinker around and you'll try new things, but he should know his best team now. I don't know what his best team is. I don't think he knows. Do you know what our best team is?
I think he probably... who would be his left wing? I think if all things were equal, his team would be, his front 6 would be Palhinha, Bentancur, Odegaard, Simons, Kudus, Kolomouani. But he probably thought that wasn't the game to play that team. Well, he obviously did, because he didn't play it.
Yeah. Listen, we can dissect the game. There's nothing really to talk about. Chelsea...
It was bitty, wasn't it?
Bitty. Chelsea look, you look at their midfield. They spent 100 million on Caicedo, 100 million on Enzo. Caicedo was amazing. This is what happens when you spend 100 million on one player instead of 50 million on two. You get what you pay for. They weren't great. Jumping ahead a little bit, you're sitting there after 70 minutes going, well, hang on, it's still 1-0. Somehow we're still in this game, and we did nothing. Jump forward to the post-match. We'll come to the Ven and Spence thing shortly. Like I said at the top of the show, this is the game that has started to sort of break up fractions in the Spurs fan base. I don't think anybody is Frank out. I keep asking you during stages of the season, how are you feeling about Frank? How are you feeling about Frank? When people ask me about Frank from the start of the season, are you happy with the appointment? I was like intrigued. I'm starting to learn things about Frank now that I'm really worried about.
Seems like you need to talk to Frank.
Binny Guy says here, start buying some proper footballers. This is where I had an issue under Ange. I look at our players, all international starters. I'd say it all the time. Would you want any of these Palace players? Would you want? Yeah, you want a few of them. But last season, would you want the Palace players? This season, would you want the Sunderland players? Would you? How many of these Bournemouth players would you want? We had a guy under Ange who couldn't coach the defence, and we've got a guy, in my opinion, at the moment who won't coach us going forward. He's come in and gone, first thing we need to do is stop losing. Which he's done. We've lost, what, four games? Are you seeing enough at the moment to make you confident that this is going to work? For me, he needs to change what he's doing. Because I know we won 3-0 at Everton and our away form's good. That ain't lasting. We were poor against Everton. We drew at Monaco. We were absolutely terrible. 3 home defeats in 5 is embarrassing. Are you seeing enough at the moment to go, yeah, I'm still going to give this... We're going to give this guy time. But for me, he needs to hurry up and fix what's going on, certainly at home.
I'm in the position where if there was like a bombshell right now that Frank was sacked, I wouldn't care. Like, I'm not Frank out. I don't want him to go, but I don't think I'm seeing enough yet that he's sort of like won me over to the point where I'm desperate to go into bat for him. Because I don't... It's not that easy to just like, oh, well, it will click. Like, things don't just magically...
Everyone's response to anything in football nowadays is, you got to give him time. Why? I'm not saying we should sack him, but why should our mentality be, we should give him time? And as I say, we're not saying we should sack him, but like, he is, as we said the other day, you have to have something to get behind and cling on to and be like, you know what, I can see that. We've not had that.
Like, there's more in when I was watching Ange, even at the worst, where I could see, like, if he could just put another defensive midfielder in, this, like, I could see enough to cling to. Whereas at home, in these home games, like, every home game has ultimately been the same, really. Yep. Because even Burnley, we didn't control the game. Kudus, 2 moments of magic.
We beat them because we're better than them.
Yeah, 2 moments of magic from Kudus.
And Richarlison.
That set up a ball into the box, unmarked Richarlison, 2 great finishes. But the flow of the game, although it was probably the best game we've played, and ironically, we didn't have either Palhinha or Bentancur playing in that game in midfield.
Bergwijn and Sarr, wasn't it?
Have we ever had a batch of 4 home games in the league worse ever in our lifetimes ever than the last 4? We can't have. We've got 1 point from a distinctly average Chelsea team, Bournemouth, Villa, and Wolves. 1 point, and this Wolves team are bloody on to beat Derby's record.
To go back to Binny's point about sign some footballers, I think these are footballers, and that's the point I make about Ange. Didn't want to coach the defence, and Frank seemingly doesn't want to or doesn't know how to coach nice attacking football. Are the players this bad? Look, we can talk about the summer window. The squad is totally unbalanced still, certainly on the left-hand side. Are the players this bad that we have to watch this football where we've had 3 shots against Chelsea, 1 on target? I can't even remember on target. Was it Kudus in the first half?
Yeah.
Lowest XG of any Premier League game this season, 0.5.
0.05.
Sorry, 0. I take 0.5.
Wasn't that good?
0.05. Are the players this bad?
No.
And I say this bad, people will say you're 4th in the league, you're 5th in the league.
I do disagree slightly, because I'm not talking about the squad generally, but 4 players are absolutely killing us right now. Odobert, Richarlison, Johnson and Tell, those 4 players who can all play on the left, cost a shitload of money, right? Massive home game against Chelsea. They're all pretty much, or maybe not Johnson and even Richarlison, but they've all played on the left a decent amount of times for us, right? And he didn't fancy any of them. Mm-hmm. And that was telling. No pun intended. We spent a lot of money on them, and I've been crying out for years. We need to sign a proper left winger. And we signed a proper right winger, and that is killing us. How many players have we played on the left this season? We said it in the summer. If we don't sign a left winger, we are going to chop and change every single week. We are 16 games in, and I make it 7 players have played on the left.
Well, Michelle says Tell's not played enough on the left, but I don't want him playing on the left every week. I don't think it's good enough.
Those 4, Bergvall, Colin Moani and Simmons, 7 players have played on the left this season. 7. That says it all.
So do we have to cut him some slack because I don't believe we have poor players.
I'll cut him some slack for the left winger position. What I won't cut him some slack on is you have got to find something different to playing Spence at left back at home. Because how many times do you have to see the play being shuffled out that way and Spence can't get down the line and uses left foot? Yeah. You're basically cutting off like a third of the pitch becomes an unusable space.
And it's killing the left winger,
It's killing. That also doesn't help the left winger because he's got no one going outside him. So you can't even come inside because there's no overlapping threat. I mean, Odegaard against Brighton
that was just
probably was his best game because you had a doggy absolutely bombing up and down the left flank. Same against Leeds, he played really well. And the lack of, the old insanity thing is doing the same thing over and over again. How many times have we got to watch Spence, who I love, one of my favourite players, just not be able to do the basic role? Like there was an argument yesterday about Wisseren and Bamo and how much better they are than what a drop-off that Frank's got. That may be true, but Brentford also had 2 flying fullbacks at all times. It was always a left footer on the left, right footer on the right, bombing up and down, getting the balls over. Those 2 weren't creating chances for themselves out of nothing. They were finishing chances that the team structurally were creating for them. We're not doing anything. Like there was a goal kick we had in our deepest centre half to Colin Moani. It was about a 70-yard gap.
The gap.
You're not going to win any games playing like that.
The gap between our defence midfield and our forwards is huge. Do you think he has the plan going forward to play attacking football? Do you think he's currently still in this mode of let's just not lose? You lost so many games last season. Do you think he will suddenly go? Do you think Saturday could have been a light bulb moment, whatever the word, an epiphany? He's gone, do you know what? I can't do this anymore.
I worry that that's not the case.
Yeah,
that is what concerns me.
Yeah, but can these players suddenly? I said to you last week, I watched every single game last weekend at work. Didn't see everything this weekend, but the games I've watched, I've gone, we don't score goals like that. We don't attack like that. When did we last do that? From all these other teams.
I think he thinks it's an intensity issue.
That's the point I'm going to make.
And it's not.
I think
that may be the case, but that should be the intensity should be the finishing touch on a structure and plan. That to take it back, if Vicario has the ball, open play, what is Spurs' route to goal? I have absolutely no idea.
They either lose the ball. Well, they either lose the ball trying to play out, or they whack it long and we lose the ball.
But what's a Tottenham goal now this season?
Cross and header,
which is bollocks.
I was going to ask you, what was the last goal we scored from open play? Was Kudus against Leeds?
Burnley at home was the only reasonably nice goal we scored this season. Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson. Turnover.
Maybe Romero got it in, or was it a turnover?
Well, I've got a stat about that.
Richarlison held it up.
In a minute. I'd say Kudus against Leeds was the last time we scored a goal which didn't involve a cross and a header or a throw and a header.
It's still Porro whacking it down the line and hitting the defender's back and, Kudus doing something great. It wasn't like a...
Nice move.
We haven't scored a goal where the team have made it easy for everyone to just put it in.
One of my concerns is, and I know that so many players in this squad are not good enough, right? But when you have that many players out of form, and, we've probably got 2 players in form playing well. In fact, probably count Paulinho, Van der Ven and Romero. Vicario's playing great, but irrelevant. When you've got that many players playing really badly, game after game, that is on the manager. That is on the manager. Because 15 players aren't just out of form by chance. Clubs go through spells where this one's not playing well and that one, even when we were good. When that many players are not performing, Kudus has been poor recently, Richarlison's all over the place, Bentancur's not playing well, Spencer's dipped off since he got his England call-up, Porro's been terrible recently, Bergvall and Sarr look completely lost, Simmons. How many players is that?
That says more about the system doesn't work than...
But that's my point. That's on the manager.
Yeah, it's the manager.
You can't have that many players out of form.
If 3 or 4 players have a bad game, that's probably on them. If all 11 of them, then something's not right.
Why do we have 3 home wins in 19? What is going on there?
2 home wins since this day last year.
I think most of that's irrelevant. I think one home win since the start of the season is the relevant stat, and we're in November. Like the Ange stuff,
yeah, but
it
feels like the whole anxiety of the players is a follow-on from last season. It feels like they're terrified of play. It's like we're Man United almost, and like this, Old Trafford thing is weighing heavily. Is the shirt weighing that heavily on these players?
Do you not think it's because we're just one of the easiest teams to play against? When we play away from home, it's the onus is on the opposition to come out. We have gaps like we saw against Everton. Well, we actually didn't see it against Everton. Against Leeds, we found a few gaps, and Seaman's probably had his best game. Everton was 2 throw-ins and a late goal when Everton had given up. At home, the onus is on us to play out.
Why is this guy posting in capital letters?
He's really angry.
Screaming.
The onus is on us to play at home. So I'm still wrestling with, have we got bad players? I'm not going to call Frank a bad coach, but have we selected the wrong coach? I'm wrestling with it because I'm going to do the stat that I put on Twitter last night that has got Arsenal fans arguing with Spurs fans for some reason, but it's also Spurs fans showing a lot of interest. Through a through ball, the definition of a through ball from Opta is any pass that bisects the defence and leaves your forward one-on-one. And it doesn't have to be Haaland yesterday against Bournemouth or Son against Ortega. It's at any point in the area. So the reason Arsenal have got 38 of those is because a lot of theirs will come in the area where they've dissected the defence of someone like Saka or Gyökeres is face up in front of the goalkeeper. So it's not just a run for 10 yards, one-on-one with the keeper. It's any pass where your striker or your player is behind the defence and has a shot. We have Opta definitive through balls 4 all season. The average in the Premier League is 18.5. Arsenal lead the way with 38. Palace about 4th with 27. Palace don't have
we bottom?
We're bottom with
by
4.
far.
With 4.
Who's second bottom?
Wolves with 8. And I look at Palace, and I keep coming back to this. Palace don't have some wonderful attacking, thready, passing midfielder that I've forgotten about, but they set up in a way that allows Mateta and Ismail Assar, mainly, and that Daniel Munoz, to get in behind and create chances.
4 through balls.
We've done one at home, one through ball all season that has dissected the opposition defence. That was against Burnley. Johnson scored. One I can remember away to Leeds was Simon's flick into Porro. That dissected their back 4, and Porro shot wide, I think, or straight at the goalkeeper. The other 2, one was Bentancur and one was a Porro pass, which I can't remember who it led to. 4. That is a system thing.
Yeah.
That's a system thing. The other thing we don't do is shoot from outside the penalty area. In the 4 seasons Frank was Brentford manager, of all the ever-present teams in that time, in the 4 years he was there, that's probably about 12, 13 ever-present Premier League teams, he had, I think, 463 shots from outside the box. That's an arbitrary number. But it was 130 fewer than the next. I'm worried that his only way to goal really is corners and throw-ons. Yes, Tony, Visson and Bremo were a good front 3, and he probably lucked out having those. And Damsgaard picked up in the 2nd and 3rd and 4th year of his tenure. I really am starting to worry that
stat should be put to Frank today.
Which one? The 4 through balls.
Because that is.
I'm not one. Is that bad play? Because people on Twitter are going, well, who's going to provide the through balls? And
anyone can do it.
But this is where I come back to the Xavi Simons thing, who's not playing well, looks really weak at the moment. He's the only one in that team who's going to get the ball in the 10, get his head up, and find, hopefully, a runner in someone like Kolo Muani and Richarlison. I don't blame Kolo Muani and Richarlison, really. It's impossible to play out front in this team at the moment. You are tasked with receiving the ball 40 yards in the air, on your chest, trying to bring it down, on your island, trying to find someone around you when there is nobody. The one time on Saturday we played a short ball to Kolo Muani that was under 10 yards on the floor. Look this up. The one pass to him on the floor that was shorter than 10 yards, he spun the ball into Kudus, and we had that only shot on target. It might have been the one that Kudus put over the bar.
Same anyway.
Same situation. For me, that's the system and not the players.
Yeah. I agree. And I suppose, like the argument we've all been wrestling with on our WhatsApp group is it going to change or isn't it? And no one knows the answer to that. I have a pessimistic edge anyway, and so there's a concern for me that no, he's just going to keep trying to flog and do the same thing. But who knows? I mean, can you see a way this sort of turns itself around and we become a free-flowing front foot team?
Before you've been away for a bit. We haven't been on for a while. Before Saturday, We played 15 games. Was it 9 in the league? Where were you? Because Saturday is a bit of a moment for us fans because it was so bad.
Chelsea at home a moment in November.
One of the worst. We said off air. Was it off air?
It can't get worse than that.
One of the worst home performances I've ever seen, and that's a big.
What?
It was worse than
Saturday.
Bournemouth.
Saturday,
it was genuinely worse than Bournemouth.
It's a big sample size. Worst home performances in Spurs history. There was more fight when we lost 7-2 to Bayern Munich, for God's sake. But Bayern Munich were excellent. Chelsea weren't excellent. Well, where were you before Saturday? Try and go back to keep Saturday out of your mind. Were you still very much like, still don't know, or this is fine, but I want to see a bit more?
So I watched the Villa game at 6 a.m. on the west coast of America, and maybe that slightly coloured my view, but I thought we were terrible against Villa.
We were.
You thought we were?
We were awful.
Because there's people I've seen quite a bit like, we weren't that bad, 2 wonder goals. I can't think
we
of it.
We didn't create.
We didn't do anything.
We were terrible.
That for a home team.
We said it last week after Everton.
Yeah,
I know it's obviously
that's what I was
different
gonna
to home and away, but
so then Monaco happened after Villa, right? And that was as
horrendous.
bad as anything you've ever
we'll
seen.
Take the point and go whatever. Champions League, we can.
Yeah,
Then
Everton happened, and that was quite a fractious point because there were some people that were delighted with a 3-0 win. I said on social media that I thought we were absolutely hopeless against Everton.
Yeah.
And I got quite a bit of tap for it. But the reason I said that is that for me, that was an indicator of future performances. Like I have clapped Spurs off in defeats a number of times. I'm very used to Spurs losing. That doesn't shock me. And I can appreciate when Spurs have played well and lost. Conversely, I'm also very happy to be critical of an awful performance that leads to a win. And again, it's that thing about control. Because if Everton got 1 with that better overhead kick, they're getting 3. Was the way I saw the game. So I was pretty nervous going into that Chelsea game. At Newcastle, actually, I was more positive because I thought they knocked it about quite well and showed more than they had done. But after Chelsea, the last 3 league games, Villa, Chelsea, Everton, stylistically have left me pretty rocked.
This is a good question from Michelle. Where is the team that played PSG and Man City? I was on holiday against City and I chose not to watch it. I thought I'd sit by the pool instead. Obviously thought we were going to lose, despite our record against City. We won. Apparently we played really well. I then decided to watch the Bournemouth game, which for me was the end of Frank's short honeymoon period. I don't really think we played that well since, other than a half against Brighton. Where is that team that played PSG and Man City? Certainly PSG went 5 at the back. There was a lot of talk before Chelsea that he was potentially going to go 5 at the back, and we thought, yeah, okay, Doggy's back, Romero's back. Maybe this is the time to play 5 at the back and flood the midfield and attack Chelsea that way. He's not done it. He's not gone back to...
We thought there was a chance, and he referenced it as well on Friday.
He did, yeah.
I thought there was a chance that we might bring one of them back in, and it compensates the sort of no left midfielder as well. You don't have to play one of them because you can just play Simmons and get Colomboani and Kudus close to Colomboani.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something. I don't know. We hear about Frank being flexible, but he's not being flexible at all.
Where do you stand on people? I know that Joe Bloggs is sort of laughing about it here, but on Twitter, opposing fans, some Spurs fans, well, you're 4th, 5th in the league, you're unbeaten in the Champions League. What are you moaning about?
That is a thing to cling to, that thankfully Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, United, the teams that we're likely to be competing with for various spots have also had poor seasons. That for me I don't care about that. But the saving grace of the season is that we still have a decent lead despite performances.
But we were clinging to we're still in the Europa League last season.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't think it will last.
I want to stop clinging and just
the problem is
happy.
with that is the league it's so early in the season, so I can't even look at the league table. It doesn't interest me. Like, well, what's the point? What is the point? Because I guarantee you one thing: if we continue playing how we are, right, when we lose to Newcastle on the 2nd or 3rd of December, we'll be 13th or 14th.
Well,
I guarantee you, and I don't want that to happen, but that is what will happen because there's a good chance we won't beat United. Arsenal is, give them the points now and just save ourselves.
It should just shake hands.
Just shake hands, give them the 2-0, 3-0, whatever it will be.
Yeah.
And, Fulham at home and then Newcastle, right? And you look at the league table, any of them teams win a few games in that period. That's why it's so irrelevant. You can still moan and be 4th after 10 games. You can. Newcastle were below us in early December last season, right? And we went completely the opposite ways. And by February, we couldn't physically finish above them.
This is why getting a point against Wolves, none against Villa, none against Bournemouth, none against Chelsea at home we're looking at it. We're quite seasoned in this. We know where we're going to lose games, right? Mm-hmm. We know we're probably going to lose at Arsenal. We know we're probably going to lose at Newcastle, which is why it's so frustrating. Our away form is not hanging around. It really isn't. And that's why our home form has to improve. We said after beating Leeds, we need to back it up with, was Villa next?
Yeah. Villa off the international break.
Yeah. We've got to back it up against Villa.
Yeah.
Didn't back it up. We go to Everton. You've got to back
We've
it
not
up.
won consecutive league games since the first two, have we? And you're never, ever, ever going to progress if you don't win.
We're unbeaten in the Champions League. Bodo was embarrassing. We're 2-0 down.
Dreadful.
They're all pretty embarrassing.
Monaco, dreadful.
Villarreal was terrible.
Yeah.
We didn't have a shot.
No.
The keeper threw one in for us.
No. It's bizarre because I don't think anyone's calling for Frank out.
This week feels big though.
Yeah.
This week feels big because if we don't beat Copenhagen, we're in serious danger of dropping out of the Champions League which I think we'll be fine against Copenhagen. And United's massive because again, if we beat United, it would be 20 points from 11 games, which feels fine. Not fine. We would probably all taken that ish, just below 2 points a game, fine. But the home form as well. We've always said it that away games it's almost like you get away with it a bit because there's not as many fans. But there will be no hiding place this week because those boos on Saturday reminded me of Nuno against Man United.
Let's talk about the boos.
They were telling.
I've never booed. I think I might have booed the Nuno
I booed
sub
at half time.
No, I didn't boo Saturday, and I won't.
I've got no problem with booing.
Oh no! After Saturday, they deserved everything.
But why are people so anti-booing? Why are us customers that pay a shitload of money to go and watch it go see a show that is not good enough time and time and time again, and we have to just sit there and clap them off?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I've just never done it.
The boos at half time are not pathetic. We were dreadful in the first half.
What do you make of them, and what do you make of? Because you said I liked your point. I think it was on Twitter about the whole clapping the players.
Yeah, I think the Spurs fans in the stadium are getting an awful lot of unnecessary and unwarranted criticism for the form. And you've got like the whole week leading up to it, they're like, we need to make the South Stand better. We need to make the atmosphere better. I appreciate the effort, but it then has a sort of a knock-on effect that sort of like, if the fans were better, we would be winning more games. And I think that's such a cop-out. And I said, look, I don't think I boo particularly. I don't really know what I do. I'm so angry at that stage. I don't know what I do. But this season is the first time where I've felt conscious of how much money it's costing me to go.
Same.
And I'm not saying that, I'm hugely privileged that I get to go to these games, and I appreciate that it is technically a choice, even though when you've done something for 32 years or whatever, it feels like something that I do. But for the first time, like I sat there on Saturday thinking, this ticket is 110 quid to just be sitting here and we're losing again and playing badly again. And God, like I could be doing something better with my time and my money. And I don't know if that's a terribly sort of modern football thing to happen, but
no, that's a 3-19 home win thing.
But I think a lot of people do think that about football now.
If we were good at home, you'd be jumping down the high road and you'd be happy.
Maybe, but no atmospheres, like as a general league thing, the atmospheres across the division are not good. And I think people are conscious about how much they're paying to go. And I don't expect anything for my money necessarily, but I said to my mate, like, this is 110 quid for this. And I've never had that before. And it struck me that I was even thinking about it.
I said a few weeks ago, it's a two-way street with the fans have to get the players up and the players have to get the fans out. Actually, I think I've changed my mind. I think it's a one-way street. It's never, ever the fans' fault. We will react to you. Yeah, all right, if you're behind 2-1 with a minute to go, we can all try and suck the ball in. That's why it annoys me when
Frank comes out on a Friday and says, the fans... Look, we have all seen Tottenham beat Chelsea, Arsenal and whoever plenty of times over the last years. If you put on a show... and we're beating them and playing well. In fact, even if we're not beating them and playing well, Tottenham fans, even in that stadium that none of us really like, they will get behind you and create an atmosphere. We have seen it. Yep. You don't need to call for the fans. Call for your players to perform.
Do you know what? There was a moment after about 75 minutes, I'd been scrolling through my phone most of the second half. The game was so poor.
It was bad sport as well. That's one thing that struck me. Like I was watching a terrible
game of football
spectacle.
Yeah. But after about 75 minutes, I was like, do you know what? The South Stands... they're still singing.
The atmosphere was fine on Saturday. The South Stand, it was fine.
Right, the atmosphere was fine, and the players were giving
and it was really
nothing.
hard to get behind.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because it wasn't even like we were really poor, couldn't string two passes together, but we were getting balls in. I know it's very League One, League Two. Getting balls in the box, winning a few corners, creating a bit of excitement. There was no moment in that game where I thought, we're going to nick one here. Because you get that feeling sometimes. You think, oh, we could turn this around very, very, very quick. I was even thinking this. If we nick one, we could easily win this game just because of the crowd. And this is a very soft Chelsea team. I didn't get that once.
Well, I was with my mate Ben and his little lad Levi, and it was about 78 minutes. He said to me, I think his little kid was getting tired. He said, should we go? I was driving them home. I said, we can't. It's 1-0.
There was never scoring, though.
But we knew we were
never scoring.
That was the conversation we had. We know we're not scoring, but it's 1-0. But
we were never scoring.
Why did we not look like scoring? With that free kick at the end, which they didn't even pump into the box.
I can't remember a Tottenham team ever in my lifetime that games pass us by so much. I can't, like, I've you know when you go to a game and you sort of, you know, your memory sort of thinks what happened here and that mischance. I sort of leave home games now and just think, I can't actually think anything that happened. It was the same against Bournemouth. Like, what happened? I watched Match of the Day, and I never watched Match of the Day. And I just wanted to watch it purely to see what they showed. They showed one chance, the Kudus chance, that was it. Yeah. There was nothing to show.
I'm reading all these comments, Jake, and I still wrestling with is it the players, is it the manager? Maybe it's both. But between them, they really have to try and fix it soon. Because I don't buy the 5th in the league, unbeaten in the Champions League. We're so lucky to be unbeaten in the Champions League.
If we go and beat Man United, Arsenal, Newcastle, then talk about the league position.
Great.
Then talk about it. After 15 games when we've beaten a few clubs and won a few big games.
Sliding doors moment, the goal that Chelsea score. All right, Simons drops a pass too short for Van de Ven. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a player like Michael Dawson, for example,
just kicks it
would use that opportunity to absolutely batter Caicedo.
Yeah, agreed.
Because it's his ball. It's the defender's ball first. You're not going to give away a foul.
Kick it hard and you probably win a throw.
Yeah, smash it, go through the man, wave your arms to the crowd, and the crowd will be absolutely rampant. And Van de Ven bottles the tackle.
Well, he sort of tries to take it. He sort of tries to cut inside.
But he sort of just bottles the moment a bit. And that's a chance where, you know, English fans might be a bit primitive in the sense that, you know, we like to see our players run, tackle and show commitment, but that's an opportunity.
But that was horrible. It started before that. Spence bottled a tackle before. It was horrible from all three of them.
But it could have been one of those sort of great derby rousing moments and it ends up in the back of the net.
But how bad the London, like we talk about London derbies, you know, we'll put West Ham aside. Chelsea and Arsenal are the ones that fans really get up for at home. That was pathetic. For a derby, because I kept thinking this is a London derby under the lights against a really beatable
no one
Chelsea
trusts this team, Jake. No one trusts this team for us to go and have an exciting afternoon.
Soft,
yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're not good enough, you can win the game by, you know, battling. There was no sort of fight in there. Did they even care?
Oh, I don't know.
Did that squad care?
I don't know.
Did they care losing to Chelsea?
Do you see the Chelsea reaction? This is their big game. They were off that bench.
Of course it is. I saw them all. You know.
Can we talk about Xavi Simons?
He's not.
It's a worry, though, isn't it? Because we're crying out for a 10 and a playmaker. Is he even a playmaker?
I'm not worried yet because I know he's a good player.
Do you know who it reminds me of, though, early doors? Soldado.
Well, different players.
No. Forget that. He looks terrified. He looks absolutely scared of his own shadow out on that pitch. He can't, you know, he can't handle the weight of that shirt at the moment. He looks terrified. You could see. Do you know what? Even the pass for the goal. I know Van de Ven did terribly. That pass is like the pass of a terrified footballer. Really terrified. That was like a 5-yard pass. And that told you a lot where Xavi Simons is. And I thought he was fine against Newcastle, but just terrified. And you know, I saw a few people saying in the comments, getting on his back, yeah, it's not great. I'm not blaming the fans, but it's not great groaning every single pass. It doesn't help a footballer. And I'm not saying that he's performing how he is because of us. That's complete nonsense. But probably is not helping him getting on his back every time. You know, it's hard because we want to win and we want to see more. But he just looks terrified.
I think he just needs to play in the 10 every single week.
Yeah, I think he needs to be. If I was his manager, I'd be saying you're playing the next 10 games in the number 10 position
tomorrow,
and that's the end of it.
100%.
Just so you know, you can be, if however bad you are Tuesday, 100%. You're starting Saturday.
100%.
Yeah, tomorrow and Saturday has to. I want nothing else.
You know, they say build a team around the player. That usually means you've got a top player. They need to build a team around Xavi Simons to get our only creative mind in the team playing in that position.
Yeah.
Try and get him some freedom. Try and get him to link up with Kolo Muani, whoever's playing up front, and play some decent attacking football. Because that's where I'm at. Post-match, I'm delighted we beat Everton. But while I'm watching that game, it's horrible. We are a horrible watch at the moment. What do we think about Van de Ven and Spence post-match with Frank?
I couldn't care less.
I think
honestly, I think football is so performative to a laughable, almost fake degree now, that if you're a fan, away game's different. If you slapped up to Liverpool and you've lost, it's quite nice for the players to show a bit of appreciation. But I mean, I walk straight down my tunnel Sorry. Is your issue with the Frank thing as opposed to them walking off?
I couldn't care less. They didn't clap the fans.
Fine.
It's more the reaction.
Was it that big of a deal?
Well, I've not seen that often. It's not. It's more. Wasn't the fact they walked off? They could have just walked off. Spence threw his arm up him a little bit. Van der Ven, as he got to the touchline, was he still captain at that point, or had the captaincy gone to him?
I'm still under the impression.
Black armbands for Willie Young. He was taking his armband off. He was muttering. Listen, they're going to be pissed off, and I'm glad they're pissed off. But Frank's reaction was looking down the tunnel at them as if to say, "Really? Have you just done that? We don't know what we said."
I didn't think it was a big deal.
No,
I'm happy to, it doesn't bother me. As Ad said, I saw it. I actually, ironically, I saw it on Wednesday from Newcastle. I saw it, and I knew it was going to get picked up on. I think it was Spence and Muani. And Porro shouted at him. And, it really doesn't bother me if I've travelled hours and spent a lot of money, a few players 200 yards away clapping. I couldn't give a toss. But it's a bit more respectful. It's a known thing, especially the big clubs that take massive numbers all around Europe. In a home game, I don't see it as a big deal. It's not a great look when the mood is how it is. It's not a great look. We don't really need to be talking about players snubbing a manager.
So I had a message from a friend, Nicky Wolf, wondering whether it was bad and that we might see a Bissouma-style, Frank pulling rank and putting Van der Ven and Spence on the bench.
Better not.
We haven't got enough players.
Spence might be on the bench, ironically.
Yeah.
But if he drops Van der Ven from that, wow, there'll be a massive backlash. That wasn't a big deal. Maybe they would have spoken about it this morning on the training ground, and Frank would have let him know, that's not how we behave. But it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, he should be able to navigate this quite easily in the dressing room privately and then publicly by saying, there's one of those, and then just getting on with it.
He should understand in the heat of the moment, players are pissed off after losing a big game. And two of our players that really care. I know Spencer's got this laid-back attitude, but they care, them too. Spence did it against Newcastle. He's pissed off that we lost.
Yeah. In summary, you sort of touched on it, Ad. I'm used to watching Spurs lose.
No problem.
But it's how you lose. And I think that was totally set up in the wrong way. And the frustration is there for all to see. And I'm concerned that Frank lost 50,000 friends on Saturday because everybody was angry.
He gained 3,000 friends.
With what?
The Chelsea
fans. But he's got a terrible home record against Chelsea. I don't really know if that means anything, but maybe he's...
Well, our record against them is...
Well, they've won 6 times, have they?
They've won 7, including the League Cup at Spurs, 7 times. And Arsenal win for fun at us at the moment. And that is so sort of early 2000s losing to them.
Well, it's the first time since 2004 we've lost 3 consecutive home London derbies.
Who's the other against?
Well, currently.
Oh, Crystal.
Yeah, Palace. Yeah. We've won 3 of our last 9 home Premier League games, 12 defeats. If you sort of have 12 draws, you go, all right. It's just
and Wolves was a kick away from being a defeat as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. Only Wolves have made more errors leading to goals than Tottenham in the Premier League this season. Tottenham's XG of 0.05. I have to say, I think Opta have actually pushed that up a little bit, but still. Tottenham's XG of 0.05 was their lowest on record, and on record for Opta in this stat is since 2012. Their 504th match in the competition.
I'm pretty sure Bournemouth might have been our second lowest as well.
We had 1 shot in the first kick of the game, I think, against Bournemouth, and that was it.
Yes, Saturday was 0.05, right? I'm pretty sure Bournemouth was 0.01.
No, because this was our fewest.
0.1, sorry. 0.1.
Yeah, our XG at home is really poor. David Sims
0.19.
0.19. David Sims
had too many more.
David Sims, who comes on here, asked me just before actually we came on. He phoned me. He said, talking about poor XG. I know you don't really like XG, but I think it works over a period of time.
You don't need a stat to tell you that Saturday was rubbish.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, congratulations. Now I understand Spurs were bad.
Our XG against is really poor. So actually, I've sat here and slated Vicario a little bit in the last 6 weeks. Vicario is keeping us in games. We're blocking pretty well.
The fact that we conceded 1 goal against Chelsea, Monaco, and Everton is an absolute myth. Yeah. And that's it's almost worse in a way.
Could easily have shipped 10 across the 3 games.
It was more 8 than 1, I'd say. Monaco was probably 3 was fair. Everton was probably 2. And I mean, how Chelsea scored 1 goal in that game. Vicario made, some 2 brilliant saves from João Pedro. And I mean, that Gittins missed the sitter as well.
Oh, the end felt a bit like the Ange 9 men game. They were just running through us.
And that thing right at the end, that there was 2. One where Vicario sent a free kick out over Richarlison's head, and maybe even Richarlison was offside. And the one where he went short, and you could see Spence. He went short. We had a free kick in injury time, I think it was, on the halfway line. Yep. Just get it in the box. He went straight to Spence, then back, then it went, and they picked it up on Master
straight to Sanchez.
Went straight into the keeper's hands. Yeah. Those poos were...
Our set pieces were terrible. Kudus kept chipping the same corner into Sanchez, who we made Sanchez look like, I don't know, Levi
I saw someone saying, Sanchez was great from crosses. No, he wasn't.
Stuck there for him.
I'm a keeper. I would have taken all them.
We're going to shortly we're going to move it on to Jim Praloot, commentator, Premier League commentator, TalkSport commentator, who is commentating on the game on Tuesday night against Copenhagen. We're going to talk to him in a few minutes. What we're also going to do, we're going to lighten the mood by stopping to talk about Chelsea. We're going to give away this book, The Miracle in Bilbao, which is Tom Barkley's book on last season and the Europa League final win. We're going to give that away today. 2 lucky Spurs members are going to win it. We're going to do a little spinny wheel of fortune draw for that at the end of the show. We haven't got the Micky Van der Ven shirt here, but obviously you have to be a member, and we'll give that away after the Brentford game. Is that another London derby game? Will we win it? Will we not? Just to close off the Chelsea game and the current situation, what do you want to see now? How does he fix it? Yeah.
I think he has to pick either 3 at the back and stick with it, or 4-2-3-1 with a proper winger and Simons as a 10 and stick with it and just keep doing it. Even if it doesn't work against United, you've got to do it again the next. I don't know. I think you have to find something that you like and stick with it.
But also have to somehow raise the intensity.
I think intensity will come with playing well, though.
I watched again. I repeat it again. I watched all these other teams. Sunderland tore Chelsea apart. Brighton tore Chelsea apart. Even West Ham yesterday, who have been awful. We've got a new manager come in, played with intensity. Wan-Bissaka was suddenly bombing down the right hand side. Sustained spells of attack. Newcastle's goal. They won the ball in their own area, and before you knew it, they had 3 or 4 players ahead of the ball. When did you last see us have 3 or 4 players ahead of the ball? I said it against Monaco. Wouldn't have mind losing that game if we'd shown some attacking intensity. Even Saturday, if we'd gone and lost that game 3-2 or 2-1, you thought, we had a go. What I saw on Saturday was awful. It has to change. And like you said, Ad, you're talking about giving up your time and your money, and it's becoming a bit of a chore. I'm going Tuesday night because I'm taking my son. I'm going with my dad, and I'm looking forward to it. Not going against United. Until such time that I see this is changed and the whole thing becomes enjoyable or looks like it's going to be enjoyable, can't do it. Can't do it. Why should I? It was so boring and so poor and quite sad, actually, the way we played on Saturday, because I think we've got better players than that.
The next month is huge, by the way.
Massive.
We will sit here. We're talking about that Brentford game when we give the Micky Van der Ven t-shirt away. You sit here in a month's time and that's huge. Newcastle, Arsenal, Man United, Fulham, PSG.
But that's why, Jake, I was so concerned about...
That is absolutely massive.
That's why I was so concerned with those poor home performances.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility that we don't win a Premier League game until then. It's not. People don't want to admit it's not. You think we'll roll over Fulham as well? No, we won't. Trust me.
So I'll ask you the same question I asked Ad. What do you want to see? How do you think he should change it?
Well, as Ad said, he's got to persist with something, and he's got to show the fans that he's at least... showing that he's trying to win games. Because everyone saw that lineup on Saturday and thought, that tells you everything you really need to know. He has to play that formation, play 2 proper wingers, gives Xavi a proper go in the 10. I don't care that he played against Newcastle. I don't care that he played against Chelsea. He should be starting tomorrow and starting Copenhagen. He'll be on international duty after that. That is not our issue. He won't play both games for Holland anyway. I'm sick of this whole, he played 3 games. He played 3 games. He played 3 days ago. He can't play again. Porro plays every minute of every single game. And Danso is at the moment. Every single game.
It's quite good we've got a game at home against very beatable opposition. But what we want to win. I don't want to see 1-0 Villarreal style performance.
We take the game to Copenhagen.
We have to go and try and
This is a poor European side that probably have never won in England. Correct me if I'm wrong, and have probably hardly ever won a Champions League away game. This is as gimme of a tie. Yeah. If any English team had this, you would be like, yeah, this game is a matter of how many. And it should be like that for us. We should go there and comfortably beat them. I don't know if we will, but we should. Comfortably.
Well, our manager who should... stereotypical here, but he should very
Copenhagen are not that poor. Nonsense.
He should know his opposition.
Absolute nonsense.
Copenhagen. They play at Parken, which is a great old stadium where Denmark play their home games. It's really
Copenhagen, right?
They're good at home.
They are 4th in the Danish league.
Yeah. They're good at home. They don't travel well.
They're 4th in the Danish league. Lost 2-0 at Karabag. Have got 1 point in the Champions League.
Karabag are flying.
They got Chelsea this week. They're 4th in the Danish league. I mean, that might come across as arrogant. It's the Danish league. Seriously. I don't even know who's top.
Jake's simmering. Enjoying this.
Who's top of the Danish league?
Aarhus.
In the middle of
and they got a game in hand. Come on. They conceded 20 goals in 14 Danish league games.
It's been really poor at Aarhus recently.
Come on.
We're waiting to talk to Jim. I think he's coming on. Ariel's setting it up. I think I'm on, just waiting to be let in, Jim said. So Ariel, he's ready to go if you are. Yeah. I couldn't ask for
I can't get that song out of my head now.
I couldn't really ask for a better game. That's while we wait for Jim, Gary Diamond. Remember him?
I heard the name.
Saying we've had either managers that have focused on how we're going to hurt teams or how we're not going to get hurt. This is my concern. Ange was one thing and Frank seems to be the polar opposite. I don't want to mention Iraola and Glasgow, but I'm going to. I know we're 16 games in and...
Iraola lives rent-free
in my head. Have we...
I don't know about that high. No wonder you like him. It reminds you of Ange with that highlight yesterday. Bloody hell!
I did think that.
Fancy a bit of that again.
Bournemouth players going down, holding their hamstrings. Tyler Adams at the end. I don't know. Is he the right man? I know it's 16 games in, but I just need to see more.
We'll judge it. 2 months, we'll know a lot more because we play a lot of games.
Yeah.
Come Christmas time, we'll know where we're at, and the league won't be. We're 3 points off second, or we're 4th.
No.
If you don't win enough games from now till Christmas, then we'll be in the bottom half.
Yeah. Well, I think Jim's here. Can you hear us, Jim?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Can't see you yet, but I think we'll sort that out. Ah, there you are.
There we are.
There you are. Jim, seriously, mate, this has been an angry pod. We need to lighten the mood.
Save us from ourselves, please.
So we've got Premier League and TalkSport, and a good friend of mine, Jim Praloot. Thank you for coming on.
That's my pleasure. Thanks very much for the invitation.
Your debut on the show. Listen, what we need to hear from you is, what do you know about Copenhagen? And tell us, please, are we going to beat them?
What do I know about Copenhagen? They play in white. Are you going to beat them? Don't know. What do I know? So they have had an up and down time under Næstrup, their coach. When they've been good, they've been really good. So they've won the double in 2 of the last 3 seasons. But the problem they've had is being able to marry up European and domestic commitments. So they won their first double, then they got into the Champions League, and they then struggled domestically. Then found themselves in the Conference League last season where they were beaten by Chelsea, but that meant that they could put their priorities really into the domestic games again, and they won the double again. So they're now in the second half of this cycle once more. So domestically, they're struggling. They're 4th in Denmark, which is not great. I mean, you're not putting that on your CV. Led Copenhagen to 4th in Denmark. But what they are struggling to do really is score enough goals. Defensively, their numbers have dropped off a little bit. And so the bottom line is I mean, it's a very winnable game, but you don't need me to tell you. Not only is it a winnable game, it's in the context of Spurs Champions League campaign. It's a must-win game because you need to have 8 points from the four matches going into match day 5. If you haven't, I think it's going to be very, very tough to make a case for qualifying automatically. We've seen. And it's still very early days with these European competitions, this new format, but you're looking at 16 points. 16 points from 8 games is going to get you a top 8 finish, as near as makes no difference. I mean, you might be unlucky with 16 points. I don't think you would be, but that has to be the target. So you need to win this game, 8 points from 4. You are back on target with 2 wins and 2 draws from the opening 4 games, even though the second half of the Champions League campaign obviously is more difficult than the first, but you would be there. You've got to win this game.
Got to win this game. And from the outside looking in, Jim, putting your Premier League hat on, knowing Thomas Frank, as you did as Brentford manager for 4 years in the Premier League, looking at Spurs, how are you seeing our start? He's only been here 16 games. Obviously, we're sat here having a big old whinge up after Saturday. You may say, you're 4th in the league, lads. What are you moaning about? You're unbeaten in the Champions League.
You're 4th in the league, lads. You're unbeaten in the Champions League. What are you moaning about? I would always defer to your knowledge. I mean, my job is wonderful and I love it, but I'm never seeing every minute of every club. So the supporters, the season ticket holders, are always deferred to their opinions, and I understand the mood music has changed quite markedly. I mean, it's not easy to see why. You've taken 1 point from the last 4 home games in the Premier League, so. It's easy to ascertain exactly what the root of the problem is, and that the performances aren't great. He's still working with a squad that in many areas isn't what he needs, and that the 1 to 11 isn't strong enough. So whether you are where you are in the table and what the results are because of Thomas Frank or despite him, I don't know. I can't get the balance right. I get the feeling that a few of you are now thinking that maybe you're there because of him. I think he will improve it. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think that he will get it right, given enough time and given the right kind of resources. But I was surprised to see how things were when Spence and Van der Ven walked off the pitch, and the publicity around that, because that wasn't something that I ever necessarily anticipated happening in a Thomas Frank group. So you will have been able to do a deep dive into that much more readily than I can. I was surprised by that, and I hope that isn't something that is indicative of a poor mood within the camp, because that was never a problem he had at Brentford. Everybody loved playing for him. So if he hasn't got that at Spurs, that could be a problem for him.
Jim, just looking ahead to tomorrow night, how much sort of preparation do you do for these games, especially Champions League games, when supposedly you don't know as much about a team like Copenhagen as you do as Premier League teams?
Well, in terms of hours worth of work, I suppose, for a game like tomorrow is going to be 6 to 8, something like that. A lot of which I've actually already done. So we're still sort of, when we're recording this, 24 to 30 hours out, I guess, from kickoff. So I'm pretty much there. What I've done, I've looked at some highlights of some of the games that have been played. It's just trying to find sort of the fundamental stats and do as much reading up as you can. Always helps. Every commentator needs a good stats man. I'm very fortunate. I've got the best in the business.
Do you know any?
Sort of on my shoulder. Yeah, I just phone Maureen at 118212. She sorted me out. So I'm I have the statistical support I need. But what then happens is I get a sort of a weight of information that I've got to try and distill into a format that firstly is in my head, so that I've got instant recall on the important bits of information, and then I've got everything written down. I'm not in a position that I can be thumbing through pages and pages of stuff. It's got to be there right in front of me. I've got to be able to get the information, try and get it across succinctly and very accurately. So that's a lot of the job, is sort of distilling pages of notes down to 1 or 2 pages for me to look at, and in a format that I know where everything is instantly. So I'm largely there with that. And it's been very interesting looking at the strengths and weaknesses of Copenhagen, and the fact that they don't really score that many goals. If you can keep Moukoko quiet, it looks as though you probably cracked it. They're not bad on set pieces, as every Scandinavian team can say the same. But defensively, they are woefully underperforming XG against. So
we're woefully performing XG4, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, of course, but I mean, what you look at it, Johnny, is that if chances are being created, there has to be a good chance that they're not defending them well enough. Yeah. So that hopefully would be a turning point for you, and could be one of the important things of the game. I will spend a couple of hours watching over the highlights of the Champions League games they've played so far. I've had a look at the 4-2 defeat that they had against Dortmund, where there was some questionable goalkeeping. And hopefully then by doing that, we'll learn the players. They're without some significant ones. Delaney and Mailing will be injured. And I have seen them before. I didn't see them last year. I did a couple of games that they played in the Champions League back in the 23-24 season, when they beat Manchester United. They've got 6 or 7 from that side likely to be in and around this squad. So I'm not going completely from scratch, but it does take a good few hours just for a team that you don't watch week in, week out, just to be able to get your head around them. But the bottom line is, and I'm not giving away any trade secrets here, the bottom line is it's radio. So as long as they get the goal scorers right, I might just be able to make everything else up.
That's what I was going to say. How much does it change from radio to telly? Exactly what you're saying, because obviously when it's radio, people are not watching it. So obviously, does it change much from you exactly what you're actually saying?
Yes, in terms of how much I'm saying, absolutely. Because on TV, I think that you have to let it breathe. Yeah. Maybe I'm a little bit old school in saying that, but I think that people that are watching, and I'm going by what I enjoy when I'm watching a game, I don't need to hear constant chat. Just tell me salient stuff. So I'm a commentator on TV that I do like to sort of leave gaps and let the crowd tell the story of the game at times. On radio, you can't do that. It's constant description and saying where the ball is, and you're leaning on your co-commentator much more heavily. But then a game like tomorrow, for me, we will have a reporter at Anfield for Liverpool against Real Madrid. We'll have somebody that's watching the PSG Bayern Munich game. There are scores going in matches in the EFL. So the 90-minute broadcast tomorrow, whilst it's fundamentally about Spurs, is also going to be, leaning heavily on other aspects, other stuff that is going on as well. So that means that you can sort of get the rhythm right, and you end up, if you do it well, you end up sort of commentating on the important bits of the Spurs game and talking about it. And then when the ball is out of play for goal kicks, that's when you're talking about the other stuff. So that's the plan. Doesn't always quite work out like that.
Jim, we've had a question.
But that's the plan.
We've had a question from one of our viewers, F. Sank. Players to watch out for. You mentioned, is it Moukoko up front? They've also got a surname that people will remember for his famous father. Is that right?
Jordan Larson, yeah. So he scored 5 goals this season. He was the top scorer last year. He's a 1 in 5 man this time. He's likely to play on the right. He's probably best known for missing a penalty against Manchester United deep in stoppage time at Old Trafford. He's a good player. I don't think he's exceptional, but Moukoko, I think, from the highlights that I've seen, the reports that I've read so far, is probably a more potent threat for them. He's certainly got more goals. Larson, like a lot of wingers these days, will look to cut in on them from the right-hand side, get it onto his left foot. So that's something that clearly Djed Spence will have been told all about, that's the way that he plays. But he's okay, but he's not as good as the average Premier League winger that you would come across week in, week out.
Jim, without aging myself, I was doing my GCSEs in Euro 2004, and your commentary on TalkSport sort of really resonated with me. And I just wondered, obviously at that time it's sort of proud for Unleashed. You get to talk to the whole nation, everyone supporting the same team, so you can sort of go for it a bit more and be half fan, half commentator. Do you have a preference with that when, obviously that's, I suppose, more fun because you can sort of let loose when you score, but perhaps the concentration isn't quite the same as opposed to just watching a game tomorrow where we've not got no dog in the fight? Is there, obviously there's a difference, but is there one that you prefer doing versus the other?
Oh, that's a great question. I love. I regard it as a real privilege to do the job in the first place, but particularly to do England. I'm very fortunate that I've seen a lot of England games over the last 20, 25 years or so, and seen them at major tournaments. And yeah, there is a lot of emotional investment in those games, and I'm probably slightly more professional with it than I was at 2004, where it was the emotion certainly would get the better of me. And I remember when Michael Owen scored that goal very early on against Portugal, but 3 minutes in or so, I probably had no voice left after that goal, let alone I hadn't really paced the whole thing very well.
Same as all of us, to be fair, at that stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, of course. You delight England, ahead in a quarter final, and semi-final appearances hadn't come up. I certainly hadn't commentated on one at that stage, so they didn't come up very often, and one wasn't forthcoming at that stage either. But when you have the emotional investment, I think it is difficult not to get swallowed up by the whole, oh, they're magnificent, they are dreadful, and there's no in-betweens, there's no shades of grey. That as football fans, and I'm a Torquay United supporter, I'm very much like that as a Torquay fan, that there are no shades of grey. And I think that keeping a level of objectivity, I think I'm better at it now than I was back then, but it is still quite difficult, particularly when you get to major tournaments. And watching England at the Euros was difficult because they weren't playing very well, but they were getting the results and they were getting the job done. And trying to sort of toe the line is quite difficult, and give cup managers some slack when they need it, which England fans don't tend to do, but also not get carried away. If England win a game that you don't think they've played very well, just trying to sort of rein it back in and trying to be honest. I think you have to be honest, because if you're not, then people see through that very quickly, and people then don't cut you any slack further down the line, because they'll say, oh yeah, but you remember that game, you said we were brilliant and we weren't, so I now don't trust a word that you say. So I think from a journalistic point of view, you have to not be impartial. I'm not pretending that I am impartial when I'm watching England. Clearly I'm not, and I don't think on TalkSport the audience, which will be 99% England fans, would want that impartiality. I think that's where we're slightly different to how my friends and colleagues do it on the BBC. I really respect them and the way that they do it, and they've been great friends for years. But we do a very slightly different job when it comes to commentating on England. We're not cheerleaders, though. I think you have to be in a position where you can keep that objectivity, even though I'm not pretending that I'm impartial.
Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you keep a tally for how many games you've commentated on. If so, what number, putting you on the spot here, might tomorrow be? But also, what's it like commentating at the new stadium compared to the old? Look, we keep losing at home, maybe because it's such a lovely place for opposing teams to come. The dressing rooms are beautiful and all that stuff. Do you prefer this sort of new, or do you like the old?
Well, for me, I prefer the new, but that's just from a selfish point of view, because I like to have enough room. I'm not very tall, but I like to have enough room to stretch out my legs, and there are some stadiums like Old Trafford that don't even have that. So I'm sat alongside someone who's 6 inches taller than me, and their legs are up around their chin. It's nice just to have a little bit of working space. I think the environment at the new stadium for us is sensational.
Yeah, well, John Champion told me he had a nice beef bourguignon against Chelsea. This is what we're offering you guys.
Well, that is it. I mean, that's the bottom line. Also, the catering is magnificent, and you might have guessed I'm a man who likes his catering. So, yeah, clearly it's a part to it. We're treated royally. The facilities are lavish as far as we're concerned, which is always great, and so that makes it a good place to work for us. The view is brilliant everywhere you sit in the press box. The view is absolutely magnificent. There are no excuses, as there are at some grounds where you're trying to peer around stanchions and the goal is obscured, and you've got the bloke sitting next to you sat in your way because he's also trying to lean around the same stanchion. That doesn't happen. I mean, it's brilliant. So much room, a really good working environment. So I love it.
Do you know what number it
You're
is
also right, and to my shame, I do keep a tally. I know I've got a list of everything that I have ever done professionally. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what the number is. It is 3,800 and a few.
Right. Wow. And have you done the 92 yet? I remember there was a few grounds you hadn't done. In my head, it was Huddersfield, but that could be wrong. You would want, obviously, all 92 clubs.
Yeah, no, I have. I haven't commentated at them all. That's what I want to do. I want to commentate at all 92, and I think I've done 86 of the current 92. But I have been to them all. Yeah, Rotherham was the last one, the one that it just took me ages to get to the new ground. Having been to the old ground loads of times as a fan, and once or twice working, I just hadn't been to the new one at all. But I have now. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. So yeah, I've done the 92. I'm 3 short of doing the National League, and about 4 short of doing the National League South.
A proper football, man. What's the worst gantry?
Obviously, I'm watching more games than I'd like at that level at the moment.
Yeah, true. We're talking. What's the worst gantry? We had a great time in Methil East Fife once. It was a bit of an interesting place. But what's the worst gantry? Probably some sort of FA Cup tie, I guess.
Yeah, that day in Methil was extraordinary. You think the bloke's managed to finish towing his caravan up that hill yet? It was about 20 years ago, wasn't it? And we didn't know what to expect, and it wasn't what we expected. But it was great. The worst gantry, without a shadow of a doubt, was the old high one at Portsmouth, which has long since been condemned. You had to go up a circular ladder to get to the gantry, and I literally spent 90 minutes cacking myself about the fact I had to get back down that same ladder afterwards, holding bags and everything. It was horrific, and it was, as I say, it was condemned not long after that. It felt very, very rickety, and when Portsmouth scored, the whole place was bouncing and shaking. So that wasn't fun. I didn't like the higher gantry at Goodison Park. There were 2 TV gantries there. The higher one where the cameras was cramped, so you had to walk across the roof of the stand to get there. It always seemed as though it was raining, so that was treacherous, and that was horrible. The lower one was brilliant because you were at just the right height and you weren't too far away from the edge of the pitch, so you could hear the players. That was great. So it was always a good ground to go to, Goodison, providing you were in the right place.
Can I ask about you hearing the players? I think I asked this once to a commentator. I can't remember who. It might have been Peter Drury. He said, "Yeah, I did feel this during COVID." Did you feel like the players could hear you?
Yeah. So the first game I did in COVID was Northampton against Cheltenham at Sixfields in a League Two playoff semi-final, where I was conscious that, having not seen very much of either team, understandably, over the years, there was every chance I was going to be getting things wrong. And all the substitutes that weren't playing and the staff that weren't playing was sitting, obviously, a safe distance from each other and from us, but it wasn't the biggest stand, and so you had people all around, and yeah, that was horrible. We just had to try and blank it out and think about the radio audience, but you're conscious that if you had someone taking a penalty, say, you couldn't give it the big build up because they would be able to hear you. So it was weird. The whole thing was weird.
You say 3,000. Sorry, Jim. You say 3,800 games. One game where the players wouldn't have been able to hear you. You may not have been able to hear yourself. Probably game 3,800, maybe. 21st of May, 2025. You're in Bilbao. What are your memories?
I mean, it was a great trip for us. Just very enjoyable. The European travel is the best part of our job. It's magnificent. I love going to places I've not been to before, and I hadn't been to Bilbao. We were there for 3 days in total, I suppose, and where we were staying. We don't tend to stay too centrally necessarily, but we had waited. We hadn't booked anything until we knew that both the English clubs were there, or one of the English clubs was there probably. But they didn't look at it and gamble that our Spurs would be okay against Burda. Let's get the accommodation and the flight sorted out. So it meant that travelling there was quite difficult. I think I went via. I might even have flown to Malaga and caught the train from Malaga to Madrid to Bilbao. Or maybe I went back that way, I can't remember. But it was not a direct route at all. I came back via Mallorca and Minorca.
Oh, very nice.
And gone via Malaga, simply just to try and keep the costs as low as possible. So I'm sure that everybody, the Spurs fans who didn't gamble on getting a ticket had the same problem. That it was all of a sudden accommodation was really cost prohibitive, and the travel was difficult being able to get out there, let alone doing it for a sensible amount of money. But so we stayed actually somewhere really centrally. So any of the Spurs fans who were out there drinking during the day or in the evening, there was one sort of main road that went through the town centre, pedestrianised road, and we had rooms above a bar on that road. So
you probably saw Jake Sanders with his shirt off. That's what he tends to do. Oh, you weren't there.
Well, that was him.
You weren't in.
Yeah. It was noisy. It was very noisy. Great atmosphere. The game itself obviously wasn't a classic, but it doesn't have to be, does it? Because it's a day that is etched on all of your memories. The day that the long trophy drought ended, and European silverware came back to the club. And I remember Micky's clearance off the line more than the goal. I mean, that is, if you say to me, just describe one moment of that game, it would be that remarkable goal line overhead clearance.
Yeah.
Rather than the Brennan Johnson goal. The goal was a strange one as a commentator, because you are trying to work out who has hit it last.
Luke Shaw.
Whether it was Luke Shaw. Well, yeah. I still think it's a Luke Shaw own goal, but it wouldn't sort of deprive Brennan of his moment of club history. But I do think it was a Luke Shaw own goal. But yeah, the clearance was remarkable, and then just walking back from the ground, back sort of a mile and a half through the city to get back to where we were staying, and just the sort of the scenes of destruction, empty plastic beer glasses all over the place, United fans with long faces and moaning, and it was the end of the world for them, and just the sheer delight on the faces of the Spurs fans. So it was, a very memorable trip, and that's a game where obviously I had absolutely no skin in the game. Yeah. So you could sort of sit there as one of the very few neutrals in the place, just watching it unfold and enjoying the occasion for what it was. And credit to you. I went down to the press conferences afterwards, and knew at that stage. I mean, I know he subsequently said that he knew months out that he was going to get the sack, but you could tell he knew at that stage that was done. That was his crowning moment, and he would be able to ride off into the sunset on the back of it. But he, that he was done. Yeah. You could read between the lines, and he was obviously extremely pleased for the club, but also for himself that he'd done it.
Well, Jim, it's been great to have you on. We'll talk to you hopefully before, but after Budapest, when we win the Champions League, we'll get you on for your memories on that. Jim, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about Copenhagen and your life as a commentator and a few Spurs memories, and we really appreciate it. It's great to get an insight into what goes on with one of the greatest voices of commentary in this country, and we really appreciate it.
That's really kind of you. I really appreciate your kind words. Thank you very much indeed. And as I say, thank you for the invitation. I look forward to When you're scraping the barrel again next time, lean back.
Don't be silly. Jim, enjoy the game tomorrow night. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers,
See you
Jim.
later.
Thank you. Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. He's a top man, Jim. Lovely fella. Really lovely fella.
The comments have been very busy during.
Yeah,
very busy.
People are still arguing about Chelsea. I got bored of talking about Chelsea. Right.
And Ange, of course, they've been arguing about.
They've been arguing about Ange.
3,800 games. That is.
That's mad, isn't it?
I was going to say to him, and I'm obviously cautious of time. I was going to say to him, do you still get the same buzz?
Oh, he does. Yeah.
But like even for like a League Two game,
Yeah, he loves
like
it.
excited,
Loves
as
it.
excited to commentate on Chesterfield, Northampton, he
Loves
is a
it.
Champions League game or England game.
I got to tell you, I've done a little bit of commentary, but for highlights for Saudi football. And last year, IMG asked me to commentate at Brentford on an internal IMG game. It was a Premier League v IMG game. I can't quite remember. But just to commentate, there was no one there other than staff. But it's hard, but incredible. You're sitting in the best seat in the house mostly. Yeah, you've got these crap gantries. But now in the Premier League, you're in the best seat in the house, halfway line, up the top. What a buzz they must get to go up there. And I go up there at half time to see the guys on the West Stand if I know who's commentating. Best seat in the house. What a job. Just to sit there, get paid to call the game, as the Americans would say. All right, we're going to do a giveaway. Ariel, are you able to bring up the Wheel of Fortune spinny wheel? Hopefully she's still in there. So I want to give away this book.
She's still in there.
There is some
Coming
action
back.
behind the glass.
There is some action behind the glass. So we're going to give away this book, Tom Barkley's book, The Miracle. We just talked to Jim about the miracle in Bilbao.
Have we had an episode yet without mentioning Bilbao since Bilbao?
I haven't had a minute of my life without thinking about Bilbao since it happened. So
Yeah.
it
It does
feels like
make
more and more of a
Saturday's
miracle by the
defeats.
day, doesn't it? At the
Well, I'll
minute.
just quickly ask you. We saw Leicester, I mentioned on the group, Leicester losing at home to Blackburn and all the fans moaning. Would you take being 1-0 down at home to Blackburn in the Championship if you'd won the Premier League like Leicester?
That's a good question.
I just feel like if we won the Prem, we would just all be able to call it a day, wouldn't we? But then again,
Eventually that's in the
we wanna be
past, and it's all about
struggling in the
today, you know?
Championship.
Would you be able to go through another season like last year if you were going to get the FA Cup at the end of it, having won a trophy?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure I could.
Yeah, I'm not
sit
sure.
through all these
I'm exhausted
defeats.
already, and it's
Yeah.
November.
But if I knew what was coming, I'd just sack it off.
If I had
We've got to
another
win.
15 defeats to deal with,
Yeah, maybe. All right.
tricky.
Hopefully this person's in the chat.
Yeah, hopefully they're in the chat. If not, hopefully they're listening. We've got the wheel. We're going to give away. We're going to
General's on it.
who?
David General.
Yeah. So we've got our members on this wheel here. Ariel is going to spin it. We're going to give away 2 copies. Go on, Ariel, spin the wheel. Should really be Ray, our greatest donator.
Yeah, it's true.
Hope it's not my dad. It's Adam
Flanners.
Flanagan, who I think it was certainly was in the chat today. I think he's still here. You've won a copy. Send us a DM on Twitter at EOGTHFC with your address, and we'll get you one of these. And then the second winner,
Alan got Pip there.
Alan did get pipped.
Yeah.
Adam Flanagan has been removed, can't win it. It's Runar Lilovic, who I think is one of our newest. That's going to cost a few quid. I think it's probably based in Iceland or Norway or Denmark. Again, Runar, you've won the copy of Tom Barkley's Miracle in Bilbao. Send us a DM on at EOGTHFC.
Oh, Flanners has replied.
Flanners is there.
At EOGTHFC with your address, and we'll get that sent out to you. So there you go. Thank you for that, Ariel. Right, very quickly. I won't ask your prediction necessarily in the score, but just again, what do you want to see against Copenhagen on Tuesday night?
Just some sort of flowing football with a purpose and a control of the game is what I want to see.
I want to see us try and put it in one of those, what they called, those big
Goals.
things. There's 2 in it, the ground.
I've heard of it.
I sit behind one of them. Try and get it close to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
in or around the goal would be nice.
Do you feel any better for this?
No, worse actually. I'd sort of start to shake Saturday off.
I'd forgotten about it after.
Look, we're not. It's interesting. We're not alone. Sometimes you come in here and you say something. You feel like you're standing on soapbox corner on your own. You're the only one saying this. But I feel like a lot of people Saturday was a little bit of a shift in momentum on how fans are seeing it. Nobody wants Thomas Frank out. That's for sure. I think we all just want to see a little bit more that we can get behind. A little bit more exciting because it's pretty boring.
Are we beyond predictions now? Have we stopped?
Prediction then. Go on then.
2-1 Tottenham.
Yeah, but I think everyone's just going to say 2-1.
1-0
Okay. To Copenhagen.
to us.
Yes, we're going to smash them 3-0.
Oh, behave.
Good for you.
Those glory nights
Are back.
are back. And talking about, we'll be back on Thursday. You're on.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a surprise to you, but you did say yes.
What time?
10:30 Thursday with Ali from Opta, so he can talk about the stats I've given with some clarity, more than I did. But Adam, thank you very much for coming on.
Pleasure.
Jake, thank you very much for coming on. We will see you Thursday. Ronnie says we're going to smash them 5-0. We'll take that. We'll talk about that on Thursday. And up the Spurs.